learning how to play their systems.
But what are your expectations of the game itself?
In a word, Teo, goals. I think both sides have had full pre-seasons as we're going to get underway here. There'll be plenty of strike power going forward both ways, and I expect they'll tire and they'll see a very, very open second half.
And so the main man of 2020, Simon Bell, the only thing missing was the winner's medal from his trophy cabinet. He did pretty much everything else there was to do, so he'll get 2021 underway. Football Federation Northern Territories Men's Premier Division, a new season set to get underway between the defending champions, the Mindil Aces, and the premiers and first place finishers of last season. Hellenic, the league, is a team bigger this year. We've got a 7-team competition, and we're really looking forward to seeing what these two can do to get us underway. Of course, the COVID-interrupted season last year, we hope that this is the start of about 30 consecutive weeks of top-level football as Hellenic kick us off. So, John, plenty of storylines in this team. Do you think we'll get an early goal? Will Hellenic look to come out and stamp themselves, or will Mindil, as the defending champions, play a bit differently this season, do you think?
No, I think Mindil will certainly play the same way they started last season. They'll line up with a 4-1-4-1. Taiki Kudo will just screen that back four, and Prit Prus, the target man, will be back up top. But Hellenic will look to make all the early running, one would think.
And indeed, they've got a chance here, and a deflected shot goes just wide, and that would have been a goal in the first minute of the season for Sulav Maski. Very reliable source of goals and attacking play last season. The deflection gets them a corner, and John, that was nearly the perfect start right out of the blocks.
Certainly, and Maski here, very dangerous off the corner. He'll be looking to put this up, and Alex Turner found himself in real goal-scoring form last year at the back post, so there's plenty of target men other than Simon Bell here as well.
So we wait for the corner kick to be taken. And out of the pack of players, Mindil get first header. Hellenic retaining possession though, and it looks like a foul there committed by Matthew Wallace. And he's knocked over Manoli Jaroulis. Does he have a nickname, or is Manoli what he goes with, John?
He runs with Manoli.
So I just wanted to make sure we didn't have a Manny or some other abbreviation there. And we're going to have a free kick. Sulav Maski is very good at the swerving shot from distance, although this probably sets itself more likely to be directed at the pack of players, and that's exactly what he does. Good delivery, and headed off the edge of the 6-yard box. And now volleyed high to the edge of the area. It is allowed to bounce, and it looks as though there was an infringement there, perhaps a push, and so it will be Mindil ball. And they almost give possession away, and in fact they don't. Well played right hard up against the touchline on that occasion by Comfort and Kube. You can see he's trying to go on a run as well with those orange boots moving down the left sideline. John, how different do you think Mindil's mindset will be as the defending champions, having got the monkey of winning the title off their back? And maybe does that lead to them playing with without some of the hoodoos and the various things that have hung over their club over the various head-to-heads they've had through the years?
You could argue yes with that, but there's not very many players left, which I know we'll get to from that team. And certainly, despite going to back-to-back grand finals, Mindil's only managed to beat Hellenic once in their 9 or 10 meetings over the last 2 years. So there's still something hanging over there that I think will probably come back to haunt them if it's close at the end.
Centre of midfield, Maski steps over the ball. Now an opportunity to take possession for Jaroulis. And he slides it through the right side. This is good flowing play. Mario Kwarkinen, one of the former Mindil players in the team, crosses it right into the danger area. It's allowed to fall to the back post, and then a scuffed shot is a let-off for Mindil. Hellenic have done all the attacking, but they can't score on this occasion. And John, Mario Kwarkinen, he was one of the heroes that arrived late in the season last year when Mindil were perhaps at the absolute worst of their injury crisis, and he had a storming final series that helped lift them to the championship.
Yeah, certainly. He put them on his shoulders and carried them for large parts of games last season, and was a real huge influence on them getting to where they did. And obviously it's a very big disappointment for them to see him lining up against him here tonight.
Ball on the right side. And now a chance for Prit Prus trying to attack the Estonian national. On the overlap, in at the near post. First real meaningful attack for the Mindil Aces, and they get a corner out of it. Now pre-game, John, I was speaking to Daniel McCormick, the coach of the Mindil Aces, and he said that Prit Prus getting fit after a real horror year of ankle injuries last season. is
It should be off now.
So I think we're both looking forward to that.
Absolutely. You know, Pritt is a fantastic player on his day, and you know, they've got to find goals from somewhere. They've lost 25 goals in Charles Ariku and Taylor Hendrickson, so Pritt hopefully can add to that.
Fall in the penalty area, but not with any great threat to the Hellenic goal. Matthew Nifson, heroes of last season's grand final, sees the ball safely over the line and for a throw. John, another thing about the Mindil team is for a team that won the championship, they didn't have a great deal of fortune retaining their squad. They only got a handful of survivors from that grand final winning team. I suppose some of them have gone to other clubs within the Northern Territory, others have gone home from outside Australia, others have gone to interstate, be it for work or football reasons. Just stay with this passage of play with Hellenic. We'll start to get into talk about just how different this Mindil team is. They're going to have to reload, redesign in order to defend their title. Somebody passing into defence. They themselves are not making plenty of changes as well, which we'll get to as part of tonight's broadcast. It's pedestrian at the moment, neither team wants to take a risk or forward pass. Keep possession as they lose out here. Yes, John, a very different Hellenic team. Very different Mindil team. Very few remaining from last season.
Yeah, absolutely right. So just some of the outs. Arlo Race and Tanu have both gone to university study. Johnny Pencho's left for work. Charles Ariku's gone down to Bonnyrigg in the NPL2 in New South Wales. You've got both William and Daniel Reeve have gone across to Olympic, and then of course you've got George Karpathios, Tavian Ludvigsen, Mario Kwarkinen and Chris Reinberg, who won't feature tonight, all gone across to Hellenic. So there's only 5 players left from that grand final side that line up here tonight.
What about, John, the idea that so many of the players have gone from Mindil to Hellenic? Is that just accepted as part and parcel that a team that wins the championship can lose players to a contender? Or is it more a case that perhaps Hellenic had opportunities too good to refuse?
Yes, so look, there's a lot of movement in the Darwin League. That's always the case, but normally it's not so much from a team like Mindil to Hellenic that have just won the league by 14 points last season against a team that's been looking to topple them. Typically it's players going the other direction, trying to get game time. But having said that, there is a lot of big outs from Hellenic as well, so there were spots there for players to fill. Some of those outs.
What's the story with the off-season for Hellenic? That dominant team has needed to certainly find quite a few replacements.
Yeah, they certainly have, and as well as those names, it's only Munya Rapparagunda that's stayed in Darwin. He's gone across to University of Zurich, but you've also got Matthew McNabb and Kenneth Nahn out injured, and Matthew McNabb and Jesse Pinto out injured. Kenneth Nahn moved clubs as well. So some big names that have been long-term players at that club as well that have moved on and had to be replaced.
Junior Gama. Just hurls it down towards the byline, hoping that a teammate can make a play on the ball. goes through the penalty area, so chased out the other side by Paraskos Coombe. Now, first time across. He's not going to challenge Wilkes. He's not the tallest goalkeeper. And certainly goalkeeper was an issue that Mindil had last season, John. I mean, they used 44 players. And they only put 11 on the field at any given time. It obviously speaks to just how bad their injury crisis was. But goalkeeper was one particular position where they had different names and faces in there on a regular basis until Arlo Race ended up becoming the incumbent number one at the pointy end of the season. And that's out for another goal kick. But Phil Wilkes, certainly no stranger to senior football.
No, and he's a very good goalkeeper, but I do have it on fairly good authority that Sonny O'Leary was actually going to start tonight in goals. The young lad that moved across to Mindil last season from Port Darwin and get his first senior game, but had to pull out at late notice, which gave Phil the start tonight. So that goalkeeping situation may be the same again this season.
And for people not familiar with the Football NT Men's Premier, the Darwin League, it's not an NPL, which is an important distinction. It is still very much a top state league. The NPL comes with a number of various rigorous requirements, including a points cap and squad registration rules, coaching badge requirements and so forth. NT's hoping to move towards it. As we just resume looking at play here, as we've got a dashing run down the left, and it's well defended in the end, and so Coombe can't get an effective cross into the box. But John, it also means that sort of itinerant workers, seasonal work, uni students, they come and go through the season, and then you throw in injuries on top of that, and you get a situation where even the very best teams are using 30 plus, and in Mindil's case, 40 plus players throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely right. And usually there's a link between the less players you use, the better you go. But Mindil proved last year with the results that they got that that's not always the case. There's always an exception to the rule. But certainly, the more settled squads typically get the results through the season. And, that was certainly Hellenic last year through the regular season, at least anyway.
Now the team can really claim to be on top now. Hellenic may have had a couple of early sighters, but nothing too absolutely vicious. So we see the ball here at the feet of Maskey, a player who certainly made a name for himself nationally in the FFA Cup a couple of years ago. He's been one of the top players in Darwin for quite some time. Clearance here under pressure from Kane McDowell, which was effective. Now Taiki Kudo. Straight into a cluster of players, and so away come Hellenic. They certainly don't have the rhythm of last season. When you had Warren Barry and Kenneth Nunn in midfield, John, it's safe to say that this was a Hellenic team that was very comfortable owning possession. They may still get a very good chance here, and we get the opening goal of the season. And so Hellenic do strike first, and the defending champions go behind, and it is indeed Manoli Jalaroulis who opens the account in 2021. And you can see what it means to the Hellenic players. They've got the breakthrough and set the tone perhaps for what they hope will be success in this 2021 season. John Dean, flowing move, opening goal.
Absolutely, and I was just about to remark that Simon Bell was running away. He was running through the line too often, and that's the first time that he's really showed back as a true nine, and he's played the war ball there, which set it up for that flowing move through to Jaroulis, who made no mistake with the finish cross cage.
So Manoli Jaroulis has a goal to his name in the 12th minute, and the defending champions Mindil Aces find themselves behind. Hellenic just edged the matches between these two teams. 4 head-to-head meetings you get in Football NT. And well, actually, John, we'll come back to the discussion that we were having before play broke for that goal. In your experience, having played and been a club president in the NT, what are some of the key pillars that they need to keep putting in place in order to change from being a top state league to an NPL? Because it is a fairly arduous process, especially when you have a very set way of doing things.
Yeah, and look, I think it starts with the juniors and having a pathway to retain them and give them an opportunity to grow within the clubs, rather than a top-down approach. You're always going to have itinerant workers that come in, as you say, and it's a very transient population, but, building quality, I'm just going to throw that back to you there as that's gone out from Koubé, but yeah, building it from the bottom up and really creating those catchment areas and teams that come through. There's a real drop-off, as there is in a lot of the country, as kids get to 15, 16, 17, not transitioning through to senior football. And you've got to have that group of players coming through to enable the clubs to really flourish at that NPL standard, with all the requirements that come along with that, and reduce the movement that happens between clubs in each season.
certainly can't shy away from the fact that if you're the top league in a state, especially one as geographically isolated as the NPL, like the crowd tonight as well, that's inside the football stadium, just because it has NPL on the label, it doesn't mean that it's not a very entertaining and captivating league. I think we saw that last season with Simon Hill calling the game, and that was a fantastic 4-3 that went national because it was one of the first leagues, one of the first sporting competitions in Australia to come back after the COVID break. Northern Territory streaming all of its senior men's games, and the work they've been doing to promote the comp is certainly getting the name of plenty of players out there and just getting the profile of the league elevated as well. Makes a big difference, certainly with all the other NPLs going on. I know that it's a busy night in Melbourne tonight. It's always a busy weekend in Sydney with the majority of matches played on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday night in the New South Wales NPL. Northern Territory is at the table, John. They're a part of the national football discussion along with every other state and territory.
100%. And, you've seen that already just with the men's and women's Premier Leagues games being streamed. It's put people in the shop window. There was plenty of interest from Queensland and North Queensland NPLs in Chris Aquara in the off-season, but he stayed put. But Charles Ariku's taken an opportunity to go down to Sydney, moves that some of those younger players probably wouldn't have made in years gone by because they wouldn't have had that exposure. So even if it takes a step to be a development league into the other NPLs, it's fantastic for Darwin-based players and for all those that get an opportunity and fantastic resources and a location that is second to none.
Kube there taking the pass from Kudo and then loaded up trying to hit the top corner. Ended up hitting the support net behind the goal there. It's out the outside of the side netting. He's not afraid to get forward, is he, John? He's made some venturing runs up the pitch already. He's kind of shown his hand to Hellenic that he's going to be one of the main attacking outlets for Mindil so far in this game.
100%, and I'll be interested to see the size of his engine if he can keep doing that. He's certainly had a fantastic first 15 minutes, and he's running Junagama up and down that flank.
Goal kick to be taken here by McAdam. Flick header on, and this is dangerous here for Mindil because the ball breaking into the attacking third is how they conceded the opening goal of the night. From defensive midfield, Mindil trying to drive towards an equaliser. That is a smart ball over to the right side. Kudo just feigned the cross and now cuts it back. It's deflected out for a corner kick, and the shot from Tyler Engels draws the set piece. And I'll tell you what, I think the goalkeeper McAdam had a pretty good view of that, but his defender wasn't taking any precautions and put it behind instead.
Absolutely correct. I think that's some first game sort of jitters there. Engels had a lot more time than he thought. He could have taken a touch there, perhaps squared up to have a better shot rather than the flick on. But, Hellenic, no chances. They didn't get any pre-season games in. No one would play them. So this is their first hit out. There's going to be a little bit of rust.
So here comes the corner. Oh, it's not a decisive clearance initially. Sliced into the defensive penalty area, but there were plenty of blue and white shirts to take cover. Bell wasn't able to make a play on the ball as the striker, but Paraskos Kuhn is going to be able to take possession. Lays it back inside. Going to have to get used to someone else wearing the number 6 shirt for Hellenic because it's now Mario Kwarkanen in that central midfield role. They're happy to slow it down here with Junagama. Centre of defence, Savis Quelos. And his defensive partner, Alex Turner. Quelos now a bit more further afield. Didn't like the ideas of any of the forward passes, so just defers over to Kwarkanen, and he lays it out to the left side. Good first touch to bring it down. Kuhn has been an outlet for this Hellenic team. He does have a good long shot on him, and that was more of a cross in the end. Bending towards Maskey, who couldn't do a great deal with it, and it goes out for a goal kick. John wanted to also ask about another of the players from Mindil that made their way to Hellenic. We spoke about Tavian Ludvigsen, who's on the bench tonight. We spoke about Mario Kwarkanen. And what about George Karpathios as well?
Yeah, Karpathios, sort of in and out of the Hellenic team, the Mindil team last season, and more known as a centre half, but he's moved into that sort of number 6 role here, and obviously had a haircut since last year as well. And started the game fairly strongly, and I expect him to attract a bit of attention from his former team. He's a fiery young player, a good young player, and he can cause some real trouble for Mindil tonight.
Nasty foul there. Tonight's referees Tim Lay, assistants Nasir Juman and Bailey Panuto. So discussion going on here about what the plan is at this set piece. You can see Mindil definitely outnumbering Hellenic, who haven't committed too many forward here. So Garma takes the set piece right into a little nest of Mindil players and is headed away. Now this is an incredibly humid and difficult time of the year, John. In your experience, what's it like? I know the season's kicking off a couple of weeks later than normal, but what's it like with a mid-March, pre-season and then an early April kickoff, taking on these conditions up in the Northern Territory?
Look, it's not too bad with an 8:30 kickoff, but certainly the early game tomorrow, players will just start to make bad decisions. There's brain fade. The mental fatigue is probably as big as the physical fatigue in that heat and humidity early in the season. So don't be surprised to see a few errant passes, particularly from players where it's their first game in the NT. They're not used to these conditions. They'll start to make some poor decisions as well as legs go from them.
And tell me the story behind other teams not playing Hellenic in pre-season. Surely it isn't that hard to arrange a friendly, John.
Oh, you wouldn't think so, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure what the go is there. But I know like Mindil did have 2. They had one against Hearts and one against Casuarina, and I know Port Darwin and Olympic. Other teams have all had trials, but look, there might be some gamesmanship from Hellenic as well. New coach come in, may be wanting to change things, although there's not too much different in the way that they're setting up in this first 21 minutes of the season. But yeah, certainly had the one intra-club hit out of first reserves, and they're coming into tonight. Obviously, no FFA Cup football yet for either of these 2 teams. They both had a bye in the first round, being the premiers and champions. And ironically enough, they meet each other in the second round in a couple of weeks' time, which is the quarterfinals of the NT legs. But it hasn't seemed to have affected Hellenic too bad in this first 20 minutes, not having a pre-season hit out.
Well, that certainly raises the stakes, having that half spot effectively, and then you have to go and, I assume, John, you still have to go and play the qualifier from Alice Springs to get that last spot in the FFA Cup round of 32?
The Alice Springs winner comes in at the semi-final. If the winner of Hellenic and Mindil will go into the semi-final. And then, obviously the finals played in Darwin as well. So, look, it's a huge opportunity relative to clubs in say, Victoria and New South Wales at the same level, where they might have to win 6, 7, 8 games to get a spot in that 32 in the NT. Depending on your draw, you could win 3 games or 4 games and be in that 32. And obviously, Hellenic's probably the most famous of the teams that did it in terms of pushing the Wanderers all the way in that 4-3 a couple of years ago. And hopefully we see something similar this year.
Ball at the centre of midfield, the goal scorer, Shalaroulis. And now it's barely a speculative long shot, more a giveaway of possession as the ball is bombs away and out it goes. Well, I think it's actually a shame for the Northern Territory, John, that you don't have one for Alice and one for Darwin. I think the competition obviously needs a broadcast partner. It needs to stabilise after missing an entire year last year. But top of the wish list would probably be to have one team from each of those 2 regions qualify.
Oh, most certainly. Although I know politically there'd be some that would be against that, because you've got A-League clubs playing other A-League clubs for a spot. But the backdrop, the players...
FFA Cup is not about the A-League clubs, John. It's all about the NPL and the State League clubs.
But look, the backdrop, if you've ever seen at the stadium there in Alice Springs, with the McDonnell Rangers in the background, it's a beautiful scene to play football in front of. And it'd look fantastic on a Fox Sports or a KO, or if ever network picks up FFA Cup in the future as well.
Certainly we hope that there'll be some positive news around that as we get towards the pointy end of these qualifying rounds. There's already been some massive upsets in Victoria. Heidelberg United, one of the best ever clubs as far as performance in the FFA Cup. You might remember they got 10,000 against Melbourne City in the national rounds. They're already out, so it remains a land of opportunity. It's, of course, going to be high stakes when these two teams meet in the Cup as well. Right now, though, this league fixture is in Hellenic's advantage. Just the one goal so far. Mindil yet to really create a signature chance, though, John. And I think no one expected this game to be played at breakneck speed out of the gates. But Mindil did have a long pre-season. As you mentioned, they had a couple of friendlies. They were ready, and they're a team that has prided themselves on fitness and physical preparation as well. So while they might be hoping to finish the stronger, they may also be a little bit disappointed that 25 minutes into tonight's action, they haven't really tested Kane McAdam in goal.
Most certainly. They've historically and perennially been the fittest team in the league in those opening rounds, and that was in large part the reason that they came home over the top in that first game after COVID last year, the 4-3 thriller that everybody talks about. Brian McCormack, the coach Daniel McCormack's brother, who he works with Melbourne City as one of their strength and conditioning coaches. Been working with this team for 3 years now, so they're reaping the benefits of that. But I know, speaking to the Hellenic mob, they've had their best pre-season in a long time as well. So perhaps why they're going toe-to-toe with Mindil in these opening exchanges.
Ball in the centre of midfield. I have some breaking world news, which I feel obligated to break, even though it has nothing to do with football. We'll come to that at the next break and play. Ball on the right side. Mindil Aces looking for an equaliser. And at the edge of the box, decent half volley coming through there. We hadn't seen a great deal of Kelvin Mapindere so far tonight, but that one wasn't on the target. You're welcome to look this up under your own steam or in your own time, but Prince Philip has passed away. So, John, I think it needs to go without saying that we say rest in peace, but just thought I'd mention that. You don't often get big breaking news of that magnitude on a Northern Territory stream, but I think we'd be remiss not to mention it.
Absolutely, and rest in peace.
So, goal kick coming up here for McAdam. You would have seen that hit the boot of Mapindere and perhaps wondered, was he going to leap into action for really the first time tonight, but not to be. McDowell controls on the chest and now brings it to ground level. And stops and props, delivers across. Trying to stay down for Mindil, chasing it out the back is Tyler Engels. He's had one attempt on goal already tonight, and he didn't get there in time. I don't think Pritt Bruce will be too happy about that, because the assistant referee flagged that the ball had already crossed the byline before he got a chance to attempt a header at goal.
And you were just mentioning Kelvin Mapindere before as well. He had a breakout season last year with Azuri. Had the opportunity to work with him as part of the Northern Knights setup. He has, along with Nero Shrestha from Hearts, probably the biggest engine in the league. So I'd say he's got licence here in the back half of this first half to really start making those overlapping runs down this left-hand side. So don't be surprised to see him bombing on time after time here as this half wears on.
So after much conjecture, the flag was up, but not because it was a goal kick, but because it was a corner. So I guess that's a little bonus for Mindil here in their search for an equaliser as we tick towards the half-hour mark. Corner kick then. Not the tallest team, Mindil, and this is honing in on the near post where it's dealt with quite comfortably. Mapindere had one chance already, bending this one, and it's over the head of Nkube, and even he is not fast enough to chase that down. They're starting to get a bit more territorial foothold in this game, John. Mindil have not spent a great deal of time even in their attacking half, never mind the attacking third, but they are now starting to just slowly turn the momentum of general play.
Yeah, absolutely, and the more Kane McDowell, the keeper, the more Kane McDowell gets the ball to his feet, the better they're going to be, and you just saw that with his run before. And I know they've got some big raps on their bench as well to come off a player that's a very similar style. We'll see in the second half. We'll talk about that at the time, but get the ball to McDowell's feet will be the call at the moment for Mindil.
And it is McDowell unable to control this throw-in and out on this occasion. So Hellenic to bring the ball in from left back. Junigan plays it to the goal scorer, Jurulis. just worked themselves into a little bit of a sticky situation here, Hellenic, and eventually possession is given away by Willis. I won't be too happy with that. Maybe sold into his trouble by a couple of retreating passes from his teammates.
And that's where last season you would have seen Warren Barry drop back in there and give an outlet to get Hellenic out, and Quarkinen just hasn't got that rhythm yet with the players behind him.
Oh, bending shot, dipping very late from McDowell off the boot. It looked like it was going high, and then it just veered down out of the night sky, honing in on the target. And even though it wasn't on the target, it's about as close as Mindil have come to scoring tonight, and that's what Kane McDowell can do.
Football NT would also like to thank North Crest for their scoreboard work, still line service over and above, and NTF, the construction.
Half an hour ticked over then. Mindil 0, Hellenic 1, Manoli Gialouris with the only goal of the game so far. And they're trying to break again. Bell went charging through without taking the ball along. And the referee's just going to bring things back here for an earlier infringement. So we've seen a number of these mid-range free kicks for Hellenic so far tonight. Nothing that they've been able to turn into a decent chance. And they're going to set up. They're going to play it short. Probably cut their losses with hitting the ball into a pack of players. And so they try to just keep things on the deck and keep them moving. And Quarkinen there driving it in from the left side, but no one really honing in on the 6-yard box. And that leads me to ask, John, how do you think Simon Bell will play this season? Does his role change not at all, or with the addition of Tavian Ludvigsen, who was very much a target man, liked to be played to in the middle, in the air for Mindil last season, do you think that they'll mix it up and try a formation that accommodates both of them?
I can't see that changing at this point. You know, you had Matthew McNabb, who was also very accomplished at playing either 9 or out wide last season, and he was deployed almost exclusively out wide, and Bell retained his position. So I think he certainly appears to have earned the right to start up there, and Ludvigsen on the bench suggests that he'll probably come on later out wide, and perhaps the two will alternate. They'll be given license to do that, but it's interesting. I can't see them deploying 2 9s and trying to have those sort of 2 targets up there. It doesn't fit in with the system, but it's very early in the season, and it's an interesting embarrassment of riches for the two of them, because I think between them last season it was something along the lines of 46 goals. So it's a luxury at the disposal of the coach this season.
Throw in to be taken by Dexter Newman of Hellenic. Mindil have got the numbers down deep in their defensive third, though, to clear it away. The ball's gone bouncing over the fence, so someone's going to have to go and retrieve that. Flick header, not to the advantage of Mindil though, and out for a corner. So going up in defence there was Zach Kirby, and it means that they've got another set piece to defend here. They won't want to fall 2-0 down, that's for sure. Plenty of time being taken over the set piece for Hellenic then. Driving it at the near post. Bell was trying to lead foot first on a very acute angle. And the ball is repelled out of defence, but goes straight to George Kapathios. And that's a tumbling cross, which has been very well controlled by Quarkinen. Certainly wasn't intended for him, and now as he rather exaggeratedly goes to ground. Does he win a free kick for his team, or is it going to be a corner?
I think it's a free kick, Teo. Yeah, and I'd suggest that might have been a little weird. We haven't forgotten that you used to play for us, Mario. It won't be the last one of those he gets tonight.
We certainly made sure the referee saw the contact as well. And so a resulting free kick, Maskey to take. He's going to bend it in at the near post again. It falls kindly. Paraskos Coombe just mishit the shot there. It's set up for him to have a free swing on his left, but he ended up just rolling it across the laces, and now Mindil They're going to try and counter and go end to end. And they needed that little defensive stop there from Trocoilis to make sure that Engels wasn't able to break into half a field unguarded. Kudo, challenged by Maskey. He's going to get another pass to drive forward here. Hopeful ball, bending around. Mapindere is going to connect on the other side of the penalty area, but he was wrapped up by some good defending. And it's cleared long and away. And it goes out next to the Mindil bench. So one of the big storylines going into finals last season, John, was Hellenic changing coach at the 11th hour, right on the eve of finals. Now they've got Dimi Galanopoulos as their head coach. What can we expect from Hellenic? Are they going to have a bit more stability this season, or is it the sort of situation where it's title or bust, and if they're not on track for the title, maybe there could be more changes of coach?
I think the answer to both questions is actually yes, Teo. So, look, Dimi's a Hellenic man. Unlike last season where they brought John Francis in to do a job, Dimi understands the club. He's been around it a long time. He has the respect and has brought younger teams through to, with success. So, it's good to see them sort of promoting from within there. On the flip side, it's Hellenic Athletic, and if you're not on track for the title, it's a results business, and they'll have no problems pulling the trigger a second time or a third time if they needed to. So, expect it to be more stable, but you never say never with Hellenic or with Olympic for that matter.
Another corner, Maskey taking them from both sides, so this may well be an outswinger. It bends at the edge of the 6-yard box, and then is dealt with by Mapindere. And then cleared into the crowd. The referee is insisting that the throw-in be taken a bit further back. And you can see it about 10 metres here. Mindil.
I mean, the concern is more Mapindere's throw-ins at times are questionable.
Well, I'm going to be training my eyes onto his back leg now every time he throws it in, John. We'll both play throw-in cop and see how they look from this point on. Nothing seems to wind a bench up quite like who gets the throw-in or an alleged foul throw. It's one of those things that can be quite inconsequential to the game, but certainly can get under the skin of players and coaches alike, as we see the offside flag intervene here and interrupt this passage of play. Capathios brings the ball under his control. Trocoilis back to McAdam. You can see Mindil not pressing with any great aggression at the moment. And it allows Hellenic to, in the space of 2 passes, turn defence into attack. Phil Wilkes is drawn off his line and he had to make contact. Otherwise, Bell was into an open net. But the goalkeeper has managed to get a toe on the ball when it was absolutely vital. Hellenic look to light up and go again. Capathios. Trocoilis. And that's a nice little shimmy from Maskey. Creates room for a cross, but he manages to pick out the centre of the Mindil defence. And then Wallace controlled the ball, but conspired to drive it backwards. Jeffrey Williams now at right back. McDowell. Given away with that pass. Quackinen. Hellenic looking for an opening. Salav Maskey is not going to have the magic touch on this occasion. Hellenic just happy to slow things down, keep possession. And they spread the field out to the right side. Gama. And that's a good ball to Bell. He stayed on side, but then he had to veer back, and it meant the opponent was able to get goal side of him. And in the end, the finish left a lot to be desired.
I think he's shown you how good he is with his right foot, and why he uses it almost exclusively there with that finish with the left. But yeah, very patient build-up then, wasn't it? There was 3 or 4 opportunities from Karpathios, Maski and Kwarkanen to really drive forward, and every time they turned and played back. So clearly trying to slow the game down to their level at this point with a 1-0 lead, and clearly plenty of hands on hips, just trying to get to the break with that advantage.
So Mindil starting deep at right back, trying to push up into the attacking half and have a strong last 5 minutes of this first half. And that is a nice ball from McDowell into open space, and Kube has sprung the back line here. Question to the finish, and he hits the crossbar. And how disappointing is that? It really should have been an equaliser. And Comfort and Kube has had such a good half down that flank. But when the time came to finish, he put it into the woodwork.
It was a great run, a great ball to pick him out, and then his first touch let him down, but he had so much time he was able to recover, and actually probably put too much on it. Went for a little bit too much power, which put him to the crossbar. But danger signs there for Hellenic. As I said, I think they've switched off here trying to get to half-time. If they're not careful, it'll be 1-1 at the break.
Well, it's such good movement, so smart, just to completely outfox the Hellenic backline. There was no one in the frame, John. It was just the keeper and the attacker, and it's almost like they had the field to themselves.
Definitely a wake-up call.
And so now, ball is there to be won at the centre of defence for Mindil. Hellenic trying to double their lead before we get to the half-time break. McDowell did well to win the ball back with a bit of energy. Kirby caught in possession. Some shouts for a foul, but not forthcoming. The centre forward, Bell, was doing the defending, and now he lays it to Maski in wide open space. And he puts it over the head of all in the penalty area. Kwarkanen was trying to backtrack, and Coombe can't control the ball, out for a goal kick.
Promising attack there, and again, that's probably that first game rust. Maski's usually much better measured with his cross there, and just couldn't pick out someone. But that real opportunity to double their lead there.
So the game opening up at the end of this first half, maybe the concentration waning from the respective defences, and attacking opportunities abound. And Kube again had that chance just a moment ago. He's trying to turn provider. The ball deflects back to him. It's almost glued to his feet, and eventually cleared away by a desperate slide challenge. Maski, as you can see, a bit more open space, a bit less congested, and we've got a player breaking forward here, but Alex Turner couldn't get on the end of that pass. Now Mifsud will cool things down. Hopefully we get a bit more of this in the second half, John. We've kind of slugged our way through 40 minutes, and now we've had 3 minutes of very open end-to-end football.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's offside there for Cruz, but yes, certainly, and I think you'll see 5 or 10 minutes of this after the break, and then they'll start to ring the changes through. And you know, Carrascus Coombs done well to get this far. He was only playing 20, 30 minutes last season, so I expect he'll probably be sacrificed for Tavian Ludvigsen at some point early in the second half. But yeah, more of this, please.
So 2 minutes of regulation to go in the first half. Hellenic in front since the 12th minute. And that is a very high difficulty chance there for Bruce. He was running the wrong way, trying to bend it back off his left foot. Always difficult to generate the power doing that. Goalkeeper held on to the ball. But it is again a sign that Mindil is starting to find their attacking groove again.
Yep. And again, going back the other way, there was so much space there for Kwarkanen, but Simon Bell, along with the other front three, were all running away. He shows there and gets that ball, plays it back to Kwarkanen, and they'll slide him behind and get a second goal.
That pass is allowed to roll out for a goal kick. So in the second half, John, we'll talk about the other fixtures coming up on this opening weekend of Football NT. You'll be able to watch them because they're streamed, of course. We've got a team returning to the top division, which means we have a bye due to it being a 7-team league after we had a 6-team league last year. And we'll maybe just go through a few more of the intricacies and the details of some of the teams not playing tonight when we preview those games. But we'll save that for the second half. Right now, we're getting a very action-packed finish to the first half. And Coombe has done well to control the ball. Maskey tried to feed it back to him. That channel was blocked, but he gets another opportunity. As he treads on the ball and then spins on the ball. Slav Maskey, it's glued to his feet now, and Kane McDowell dogged persistence and able to win possession away. And Kube. Look at the burst of acceleration there from Comfort and Kube. He just separated himself from all the Hellenic players in the vicinity, and then, unfortunately for him, he ran into trouble and he's gone lunging after the ball there. Got to be careful. It's going to fall to Bell. This is red alert for Mindil at the end of the first half in stoppage time, and they're able to take it off his feet. They really don't want to concede now, and we've got a Hellenic player down in midfield after that action-packed run from Comfort and Kube. And it's our goal scorer, I believe. No, it is in fact Savas Trakoilis who is hurt. And we get our first card of the night. And unfortunately for Comfort and Kube, his overzealousness means he is the first into the referee's book.
Yeah, I think there was some gamesmanship there from Trakoilis and Kube, just a hard run, and he had nowhere else to go, and unfortunately left the ground and jumped into him. But that's a really harsh yellow card there right at the end of the first half.
Comfort and Kube, who is an environmental scientist at the NT Wildlife Park. He's been certainly attached to most of the highlights, so certainly for Mindil in this first half. Hellenic do have the only goal though. And indeed that is half-time. So John Dean, as we go to the half-time break, your thoughts on Mindil Aces 0, Hellenic 1?
Look, a 1-1 was probably a fair result in that first half. Hellenic had the better of the opening 10 or 15 minutes, and then it settled into a real slogfest, opened up as we progressed through, and Mindil created a couple of good chances that they probably definitely should have taken one with Nkube. But look, it looks like we're set up for a fantastic second half here, and you know, hopefully we see more attacking football as it comes out.
Stay with us here on the Football Northern Territory social media channels, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. This is where you can find all the Men's Premier League games this season. So you'll have the countdown timer during the halftime break, and then rejoin myself and John Dean for the second half of the action. Right now at the break, it is Mindil Aces 0, Hellenic 1.
Have a chat about the football you just saw. Look forward to the second half here at Larrakia Park, Darwin Football Stadium.
So now we wait for a corner here in the early stages of the second half. You can see Taiki Kudo there going to stand on the far post. Hellenic trying to double their lead. Mindil have had the better of the opportunities in these first 5 minutes as they chase an equaliser. Here comes the corner kick. And it skims off the pack of players. Danger not dealt with quite yet. Kwarkinen leads Kudo to the ball. And now played through the left side. And we welcome back John Dean to the broadcast. John, Mindil have just edged these first 5 minutes, but of course Hellenic still have the upper hand. Now attempting to go through the left side. And the ball is out. Kuhn. At the centre of defence, Turner. Hits it long and wide to the right side. Maskey. Bell. Dancing on the ball. The defence guards him closely. And it goes for a throw. And there's going to be a sub. So teams are going to go to the benches a fair bit tonight, you would expect. And this is going to be Lucas Trauss, the winger, coming on for his debut. And it looks as though maybe a sore player he's replacing here. But on comes Trauss for his first opportunity.
Here in the Mindil side of things, he's certainly played at a decent level down south before in the MPL in New South Wales when he was younger, so expect to see plenty from him here.
7 minutes gone in this second half. Mindil will be hoping the injection of fresh legs can just lift their intensity, bring them into the game, get them an equaliser. Games in the Northern Territory typically are quite high scoring, so you never expect a team to win 1-0. Here is first opportunity on the ball, and that is a nice little turn from Wallace, and he's played it out into space for Trauss to go and chase. Bit of a lost cause. McAdam is out off his line. And then a defensive header goes back to the keeper. Still 5 subs per team, yes, John?
Absolutely correct. That was always the rule in the Northern Territory before that came in for COVID, and it's a needed in the conditions up there. So still 5 subs, but once you're off, you're off. No roll on, roll off like there is in reserve grade.
Slight challenge on Trauss. Real just hacking and going at each other, trying to win the ball. Eventually the third party, Bruce, intervenes. Late contact has felled him. And for a player with his injury history, you worry when you see him stay down, John, because certainly some late contact on the ankle there, and that's the exact area he's had issues with.
100%, and you know that. Hopefully he keeps going. And the last thing you want to do is see him pull out in that sort of situation. That's when you really get hurt. But yeah, the body winced and the eyes closed a little bit, hoping that he was okay.
One of the reasons I've been told that Bruce has so many lower leg issues is that he's a beach volleyballer. John, did you know that?
Yeah, I did actually. And he moves quite acrobatically too. You'll see him if he does manage to get in the air. He clearly knows how to move his body around diving for balls, whether they're soccer balls or volleyballs.
Good to see him back up and moving. And then, again, now we've got another player for Mindil going to ground. This time it's Taiki Kudo. Long raking pass, headed away from the centre of defence. Brought down, Kudo.
It was a rather agricultural challenge on Kudo from Kuhn, but a nice element that he's brought to his game this year is some defence.
Ooh, and Kube coming through late there. I was a little bit surprised the flag stayed down initially. Bruce just appeared to be rolling off goal side of his opponent, but he must have timed it to perfection. And then Kube coming through late. And we've had 10 minutes of this second half. Mindil 0, Hellenic 1. And so this game has been cagey at times, but it was a bit of a free-flowing end of the first half, which certainly whet the appetite for the second and gave us hope that we might see a more aggressive and end-to-end game as the night wears on and fatigue starts to set in. Maybe concentration starts to wane as well from the two competing teams. As we see a clearance here. The ball finds its way out. Now, I did tease in the first half that we would preview the rest of the weekend. So we'll, in play not interrupting us too much, we will work our way through that as the second half goes on. Right now the ball is at the centre of defence for Hellenic. And that pass could fall kindly to Paraskos Coombe. And I've got to say, the defender did not make the ball his objective there. Very much looked at the man first. And Williams got a little bit lucky there, John Dean, because his defending didn't make the ball his objective.
Well, you've seen fouls given there. Coombe did really well to show him left and then run right, and Jeffrey Williams had no eyes for the ball whatsoever. But obviously got just enough shoulder to shoulder in there for that to be a fair challenge. But he rode his luck a little bit there, did he? And Coombe definitely had him for speed.
So it's 3 games per weekend in Football Northern Territory Men's Premier. Friday night, Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. Saturday afternoon, John, is the return of Darwin Olympic to the Premier Division, and they take on Port Darwin at 4 p.m. Darwin time, or if you're watching from the eastern seaboard, that's 4:30 p.m. Melbourne and Sydney time. You stay with play, and the ball is cleared out. So before you give us a tip, John, just talk us through some of the off-season goings-on for Port Darwin.
Yes, a big roster turnover again at Port Darwin, as seems to be the way. There's probably only 4 players returning from the starting 11 last year. It's not a settled lineup, but they have trialled pretty well. Coach Lee Addison's been retained, and there's the foundations of a good squad there. There's a lot of young players, and it's going to take probably a few games for them to really settle into a rhythm. And they're going to run into a very fired-up Olympic in their first competitive league match back after 12 months out.
Well, tell us a bit about Olympic as we'll just stay with play here, see if an attack eventuates it does it. Shielded out for a goal kick. Olympic out of the top flight and out of senior football for a year. They're back, and my understanding is a very different looking team to the one that last played in 2019.
Yeah, most certainly. So in 2019, they had a lot of players from that squad that moved on to other clubs that I think people thought may come back, as we see a substitution coming on here, who haven't. So, there's 2 players in this game tonight in Alex Turner and Kane McAdam, who left and haven't gone back. There's a few others as well, Tiga Ajike at Azuri. There's some players that didn't play last year, had a year off. Mitch Amity, prolific goal scorer, as we saw in the FFA Cup fixture, where they accounted for Rovers 9-1, and then there's a really good young group of players there, and a few players that stuck around at the club and didn't play Premier League last season. The captain Billy, who will be a huge asset for them this year. So I expect them to come out very, very fired up in, as I say, their first competitive league fixture in over 12 months. And I think that they're probably the tip for tomorrow afternoon.
Can I just say, John, I'm shocked at that sub. I hope that Comfort and Kube has just run himself into the ground and he's out of petrol tickets, because he was the live wire and the entertainment in this game, and he's off, and it's a debut for young Brody Heineke. But unfortunately, I think for the neutral observer here, it's good night to Comfort and Kube.
Very unfortunate. As you said, everything that was good about Mindil in that first half and early in the second half has had his fingerprints all over it. But it was clearly a predetermined sub for him to go off around the hour mark, and I'll leave it back with you as the play continues into the final third.
And Hellenic now making a go down this right side. Bell loping out to the ball, being followed by Kirby. Plays it first time, very clever. Here is the goal scorer, not quite. Couldn't get to the ball in time. Well played, Wilkes. And Gialouris wasn't able to get there, and now he goes down. Looks like it's only cramp. Indeed, he's going to stretch it out. But yes, Heineke had some raps on him from the coach before the game. Apparently a sprinter, a trained sprinter, so hopefully the just pace and dynamism that Nkube was bringing to this game, he'll be able to replicate his fresh legs.
Oh, 100%. It would have been nice maybe to see them on there together. I'm not sure they would have sacrificed to do that, perhaps Engels. But yeah, look, in Nkube, certainly you expect to see him start to get more and more minutes if he's going to produce performances like that as he acclimatises to the Darwin conditions.
Got to say, compared to last season, I would already have him, if he plays like that every week, pushing into the League 11 maybe. Speaking of the League 11, that is a good shot and a good save. Wilkes denying Bell the reigning golden boot. He isn't going to want to leave without a goal to his name tonight. And that is Hellenic's best chance of the second half. Now in midfield, McDowell controlling a bouncing ball, but he's up against two opponents. Gets trapped and caught. Kwarkanen, his former teammate. And now Carpathios caught in possession. This is a good half chance for Mindil here. Can they turn it into something? Oh, the slide challenge. Not timed too well, and then the eyes lit up and just got a bit too excited in the end. And that was young Trauss seeing the chance to go for glory, but he was falling off balance, John, and he just needed to realise how much time and space he had there to steady himself and fire a proper shot on goal.
Well, I don't think the shot was the option, Teo, and I'm not, obviously we don't get a replay here tonight, but Prit Pruz was completely unmarked in the 6-yard box. He had 2 or 3 metres there. If he had been able to get any sort of meaningful cut back on, it was probably a tap-in to square this game up.
So Mindil creating, looking dangerous, and Trauss off the bench. You wonder when Hellenic will start responding with subs of their own.
You'd suggest now that this is probably going to be Ludvigsen coming on for Manoli Giaroulis. I thought it might be for Paraskas Coombe. As I said, he wasn't getting huge minutes last year, but Giaroulis' night looks done with cramp.
Certainly milking every second. It's a bit early for time wasting. We've only just gone past the hour mark. But there we go. The former Mindil player, Tavian Ludvigsen. He had 10 years off, the Welshman. Then he came back to football, won the championship with Mindil, scored plenty of goals. And now he runs out onto the pitch for one of their arch rivals. And look at that, goes straight to Bell and says, let's form a strike duo. Let's see what we can do. In the meantime, Mindil's respond with a sub of their own. And on comes Jack Osborne. So now we get some answers, perhaps, John, on whether or not Ludvigsen and Bell can form a strike partnership.
Absolutely, and it seems in the first instance that Ludvigsen's going to just be a straight swap for Giaroulis and operate on that right-hand side, but we'll see if there's any licence for the two of them to swap around.
Daniel McCormick getting a touch on the ball of his own. So we were talking, we've had a bit of action breakout, but we were talking about Darwin Olympic versus Port Darwin. So what's your tip, John? Who do you think will get the points in that early game tomorrow afternoon?
Look, I think it's going to be a very cagey one. It's obviously the early game, so it's going to be hot. But as I said, I think Olympic are going to be very, very dangerous in their first game back. I think they might get the chocolates.
So we see Mindil on the run and on the attack here. All about the pass from Matthew Wallace. He finds a man in space, and so they continue to build. Heineke, and his path towards the penalty area is blocked. And the ball is repelled away, and Hellenic able to defend adequately on this occasion. The other game is the runners-up in the grand final last season, Casuarina, against a team that didn't quite time their run. They definitely got better as the season went on, and they just when it looked like they were peaking at the right time of the year, they ended up losing in the semi-finals, and that is Uni Azzurri. They were the entertainers in the final third of the season. They certainly didn't create too many headlines in the first third or even the second third. It wasn't until really that third and fourth round of head-to-heads that they started getting results. There were some wild results, a midweek game that they won in a shootout, and really they ended up lighting a bit of a blue touch paper under Uche Aquara, and he started scoring goals for fun. And they became a really entertaining team by the end of the season, John.
Oh, they most certainly did, and they've recruited well. As they've kept the majority of that side together. But you've seen Munya Rapper and Gunda join that team. Kenneth Narns moved from Hellenic and joined that team as well. So they looked really good in their first hit out in the FFA Cup, which they comfortably accounted for Hearts 3-0, and they'll be much better for that run. So I haven't seen too much of Casuarina in this off-season, and they're typically slow starters, Casuarina as well. They build in through the season. So I expect Azuri to come out firing in that late game tomorrow afternoon.
And before we talk about Casuarina, we'll just wait for this cross here from McDowell. Good headed opportunity, not kept down. Mindil's search for an equaliser. It's not the closest they've come, but that was a very good chance, and some brave defending from Dexter Newman leaping up there and going head-to-head with Hellenic, I believe it was, in order to prevent an equaliser from being scored.
It absolutely was. And it's, again, just some danger signs there for, this 1-0 scoreline will get shakier and shakier as this game wears on.
And so thoughts on Casuarina's off-season? They, again, heading into the finals, they appeared to be slowing to a limp. They had some bad results. They didn't have an impressive goal difference going into the top four. And as has been the case in past years, they found a little bit of magic at the business end of the season to get through to the grand final.
Absolutely, and it's what they do. They've made the last 3 grand finals. Obviously only won the one in 2019, but they just get there. They only made the semi-finals, as you say, last year by a point on the last day of the season. But they get their best 11 on the field. They're a very, very formidable team, and they'll be the same again this year. And there's, while Mark Casemiro's on the field, they're always a threat. Luis Rodriguez is, I believe, fitter than he's been for a long time. And on top of that, you've got some of the young players coming through. Young DaCosta is, I believe, going to play some first grade there as well. So they will hit their straps come mid to late season. I don't think they'll start fast, but certainly they've trialled okay against Port Darwin and had a nice win against Mindil. But
half a chance
offside,
here.
I think he was offside, I think. But I expect that Azuri will probably get the chocolates in the late game tomorrow.
As we see play whistle dead. So a couple of subs went through there for Hellenic, and it was Blake Holmes in the number 9 shirt and Joseph Niembo in the number 11 shirt. So I don't know a great deal about Blake Holmes, John. Is that another new face?
Yeah, certainly is. He's a very late inclusion because, as you can see, he's handwritten on our team sheet as they waited for the clearance to come through. So we'll find out more about him in future rounds.
And, of course, Niembo, part of the Hellenic team last season. So fresh legs for both teams now, as we mentioned at the start of the half, 5 subs each. So you do get a chance to just take off the players that are completely exhausted. So maybe with a new lease of life, Hellenic might look to double their lead while Simon Bell is out there. There's always a chance to do so. This occasion, the cross isn't close to him. And of course, the team that's got the bye, John, is Darwin Hart. And they are a team with a strong number of Nepalese players, having grown out of the Nepalese community. First season in the top flight last year, they didn't win many games, they didn't pick up many points, but what they did was they never got thrashed either. They were losing a lot of games 1-0. They were really close. They just didn't have the cutting edge to turn losses into draws or to turn draws into wins, because to be honest, they were largely competitive for a lot of the games they played.
Oh, 100% they were, and what they really lacked was a target man up top, to play off, because they had a creative midfield. They had a team that played together and a solid defence and a great keeper in Jordan Stobbart. I think in the off-season they thought they had that. Still Maskey and Tavian Ludvigsen certainly spent some time there in the off-season, and Ludvigsen leading that line for Hearts would have been a sight to see with Maskey in the midfield, but wasn't to be. They both ended up at Hellenic. But
good build-up here for Mindil, and the turn and shot on the left is blocked away and out for a corner for Matthew Wallace. We saw him with the header about 5 minutes ago, now on the ground, and he's managed to win a set piece. Sorry, John, back to you.
No, absolutely fine. As I said, I think Hearts will be better for the run last season, and they'll certainly be battle-hardened ready for this season. I think that, it's probably fairly ambitious for them to be pushing for a final spot at this point in time, but there'll be no easy beats either.
Tell you what, if they do start turning some of those single goal losses into draws, it won't be too long before they find the confidence to turn draws into wins. I think that those two will follow on very quickly. It's really breaking the losing streak, which is going to be so important for them this season, because once they, start leaving the field with something, with a point to hang on to, I think that confidence might just snowball. So for their sake and for the league's sake as well, in a small league, you want every team to be competitive and you want every game to have a bit of jeopardy and a bit of something riding on it. It'd be great if they could end up with a points tally in double figures this season, maybe even 12 or 15 points. That'd be a great showing for them, and it would certainly play a big role in shaping the top four, because they wouldn't be 3 points in the bank game in, game out.
Absolutely right. And, that's all we want to see, and you want to see the league continue to grow. One of the Palmerston teams to come back in as well and start to get eight teams, maybe more, as the population continues to swell in the Northern Territory. It's brilliant facilities. It's a great place to play football, and a competitive league with as many teams as we can get in it is only going to do the league fantastic wonders.
So we wait for a corner here for Mindil. Time is starting to become their enemy. While it's only the odd goal, pretty much anything can happen and explode, but they need to really start putting the heat on. And this corner comes to nothing. Just kept bending the wrong way. It's actually amazing how much power can be generated out of a bad corner, John, because that's probably one of the longest kicks we've seen tonight. It just happened to be of absolutely no advantage to the attacking team.
Absolutely, and usually set pieces, corners and free kicks in and around the area Mindil is a Hellenic's forte, and they've all been off tonight. There hasn't really been anything that's worried Mindil from any of the set pieces that Hellenic have dished up.
So battle for possession resumes in midfield. And Mifsud, very left-footed player, and he uses it to advantage here. It's a good little touch and turn, and Mindil on the attack. That's a good one too, and breaking through. Can they turn it into a shot on goal? Falling to the ground, and the follow-up is volleyed away. Oh, that would have been a great introduction for Jack Osborne. He's produced a very good save out of McAdam there, stinging his palms. And his technique was good there as well to volley a bobbling ball. And that is the save of the night for either team so far.
100%. He actually hit it too flush. He hit it with such good technique, it went dead straight. Still a great save from McAdam, but if he got a little bit less clean, you can see that one making the net bulge.
And now you do feel as though Mindil are starting to exert their fitness advantage and march towards a potential equaliser here.
Yeah, we said that early. If they were in touch with 10 or 15 minutes to go, you felt that they would finish the stronger, and certainly it appears to be that way. And the question now is, can Hellenic lift and push for a second to really kill this game off as they fade into the last 15, 20 minutes of the game?
Referee insisting on the throw being taken from the right spot. We saw a little bit of that in the first half. And a couple of 50-50s. Referee's whistle is going to intervene. Slight kid clash. Referee wearing lime green and black shorts. Mindil wearing the black and yellow stripes. Thankfully, no one has passed it to the referee yet, so it can't be that bad for the players out there. Now we see the man who had a chance just a moment ago. Osborne wins a corner. Or does he? No, it's a goal kick. Credit to the defenders. They've done well there to shut him down. So another change coming up here. And Harry Childs is coming on for Hellenic, and Kyriakos Timotheou is coming on for Mindil. Looks like Kane McDowell was the Mindil man coming off for Timotheou. Didn't catch the Hellenic man making way. And now winning the ball. This is a whistled dead play. Kwarkanen was through, thinking about trying to score against his former team. But the whistle went, and there weren't any protests, so you have to give credit to the referee. And now the sub, Timotheou. And there's some off the ball here. Oh, and it's getting serious. I think we need teammates to intervene because it almost got out of control, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see 2 red cards here. Just a complete lack of discipline from both teams. It was Niembo and Jeffrey Williams, and they exploded. And it was almost like a boxing bout. John Dean, this is not what you want to see.
No, it's not, and both young players there, they've got history, these two teams, in the under-19 space as well. They've played out some fairly feisty games and met in the grand final, so say this goes back, but hopefully there's some cool heads prevail, a yellow card each way and play on.
You might be generous here. The referee, if he's seen it, may not have a choice here. And, I mean, credit to both players for breaking up between themselves before the teammates had to come in, and that's when you risk it becoming a bit more of a brawl. But, gee, I realise you don't want to back down in a competitive environment, but it has to go through your head. If I shape up again, my night's going to be over. So I guess the assistant referee is going to come in for a bit of a conference.
And while they're doing that, I think it was Parascos-Coombe that came off for that substitution, which it looks like anyway in the first couple of minutes since that happened, that Harry Childs will drop into deep into midfield, which has pushed Mario Kwarkanen forward, and it looked like Tavian Ludvigsen has come a little bit more central with him and Kwarkanen sort of playing off Bell. So they'll be looking to do a little bit more interchange of passing, one expects, but that all could go out the window if there's players from the field here and they have to reshape formations.
So the referee is marking his book in consultation. Our central referee tonight is Tim Lay, and his assistants are Nasir Juman and Bailey Panuto. Got to say, the NT competition, I rarely, if ever, I think I did something like 18 or 19 games last season, John. I rarely, if ever, noticed the referees. Got to say, they do a good job.
Yeah, and they do a lot of games. They get fit. You know, there's a growing pool of referees, but you know, Tim Lay must do about 30 games a weekend, and he's very consistent with what he dishes up. You know, and obviously the other central referees, which are running the line tonight, you know, Nasir gets a lot of centrals as well, and Bailey's a good young referee, and he'll get his time doing centres as well in men's Premier League games. So, you know, credit to them, and you know, this is their first real intervention, and as we said, it's probably a necessary one. So credit to them, first game back as well.
Well, something clearly happened outside of the range of the camera, because I've had a look back on it on the stream here, John, and Williams runs to remonstrate after some late contact, it appears, from Niembo, and that's when they start shaving up to each other. Pushes to the chest rather than pushes to the face, but it is a red card for both of them as expected. I think if you shape up and look to fight with each other, your night's over. And John, you tried to be the peacemaker, you tried to get them both yellows, but sadly, this is not what you want to see on the opening night, but I think the referee's made the right call.
Oh, look, you're absolutely right, and I guess I was probably trying to talk it into existence more than anything there. You know, it's 6 months since they've kicked the ball, and you know, it's just two young fellas that wanted to do their best, and unfortunately, I think we're going to see somebody from the bench here also be sent.
Just a yellow.
So Parascos-Coombe's got a yellow for entering the field, I would suggest there, unnecessarily, although credit to him, I think he was just trying to calm things down, not aggravate it. But yeah, look,
I'm watching back on the stream, John, and I think you're being a bit generous again. But no, I think, look, the credit to both teams is it didn't escalate. It was isolated to those two. And the last thing you want to see is an all-in brawl, and at least we prevented that. But those two are going to have to serve suspensions now, and because they've been sent off with straight reds, I'm sure the judiciary system will have its say, and you just hope that whatever beef was between those two doesn't infect the rest of the game here, and we get two teams that continue to attack and worry about the football rather than retribution.
Oh, look, I think that actually favours Mindil, if I'm honest. You know, they were starting to come into the ascendancy anyway, but taking another body out is going to open this game up more, which you feel would favour them in the last 10 or 12 minutes here. So we'll see how the formation changes. But yeah, I think they focus on trying to get a goal, then there won't be any opportunity for any more brouhaha. And
expect some gaps to open up. Ball goes out for a goal kick, and I think the incident was at about the 71-minute mark, and we've only just restarted play. No, it was at the 74-minute mark, so that could certainly add to stoppage as the night goes on. You'd probably expect 3 to 4 minutes as standard, but we could be looking at a 6 or 7 at the end of this game, especially if we get any more delays between now and the 90 minutes. Just confirming those players that were sent off: Jeffrey Williams and also Joseph Niembo, his night coming to a very early end, given that he was only just subbed on. Bit of a hush has fallen over the crowd as well. flag is starting to become a bit of an enemy of Hellenic as well. Are we going to see another card here for a bit of, yep, just a bit of shenanigans? And so another card comes out of the pocket, and this time no protests from the offending player. Mario Quarkinen goes in the book.
So that's good refereeing there, just stamping his authority on it, getting any of that little niggle out before anything does flare back up, and it's completely unnecessary from Quarkinen.
Oh, promising again here for Mindil, but a crucial defensive touch, and looks as though Tricoilis, in making that defensive effort, might have cramped. It's going to be a foul to allow Hellenic to reset and slow things down anyway, but Tricoilis is down. He's stretching. 10 minutes of regulation to go. Stoppage will be anyone's guess because we've had plenty of subs and you get 5 each. We've had a 4-minute delay to sort out those 2 red cards. Now, this won't be the first cramp, I suspect, between now and full time, and this is a painful one, John.
It certainly looks it, and I mean, this is the other thing with Niembo going off. He's young, fit, he'd just come on. He was one of the ones that you'd think would be able to do this running that Tricoilis clearly is going to struggle to go on here. You know, they need fresh legs to try and run this victory out. But just prior to that, very coolly done by Alex Turner there. Trouse is very quick across the ground, and he managed to get there in front of him and turn him out. So another assured game from Turner at the back.
So play restarts. We're into the last 10 minutes.
Really taking their time here, Hellenic setting up for this free kick.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Lay is going to have to just issue a time-wasting yellow card almost as a warning. I know Quarkinen was booked it before, but clearly I think the players are going to continue to test the limits of the referee.
No, Tricoilis is still down at the other end. He never stood back up after they played that ball on, which was interesting that they played it. So Tim Lay's had to run all the way down there and see him. So I'm not sure if they're going to carry on here with 9 because he's going to be asked to leave the pitch, or if they've got somebody they can sub on.
Well, the only remaining player on the team sheet is Mario Camarao. What can you tell me about him, John?
Ricky, a very solid player. He may sit in there at centre half. He's very good on the ball. Played a long time in Darwin, but yeah, he hasn't got the speed. So they may just drop him into the midfield and move Carpathios back into centre half and have him screening.
Could it be a case?
Usually he plays up the top.
I guess I wonder if they... Nope, they are going to make the sub. I was going to say, do they run the risk of waiting for him to recover? But when it's 9 versus 10, that might be just too many gaps. And so Mario Camarao, Ricky, as you called him, John, comes on. And it looks as though he came on with a few positional changes and a few instructions for his teammates.
Yeah, I think it's that change I just suggested. Carpathios back into centre half and him just screening that back 4.
Hellenic can really put the game away with the second goal here. And the whistle's gone. Not for the first time the offside flag has foiled them in this second half. And I guess that's the other thing. If they score a second, they don't need to worry too much about attacking again. They'll be able to sit back and try to defend with their potential disadvantages starting to pile up. Both teams with the red card. Hellenic has now used all, and here's another cramp. They've used all 5 subs. I don't think Mindil are going to show you. Oh, the referees pulled them back. Mindil were going to go and attack. The referee says he didn't take the restart from the right spot.
Matthew Nifson politely asking Tim Lay why they weren't able to take that one quickly.
I wonder if that's the referee showing mercy to the cramping player as much as it was pulling Mindil up for not taking the restart from the right spot. Mapindere, big booming ball into the area. First head is Mindil's. And is it going to fall kindly? You can see there that Dexter Newman was barely moving as he tried to challenge for the ball. Now we've got another player down. We've got a player on their haunches, and this time it's a Mindil player who's hurt. Perhaps a clash of heads here.
I think you're absolutely right. The back of Zach Kirby's head got in the way there as the Hellenic player went up for the ball, but both players seem to be right, and I think Tim might have blown that up there, Tim Lay, the referee, before it went out for the throw-in. He's not doing a drop ball. It's going to be a throw-in deep in the corner here for Hellenic that Dexter Newman's going to struggle to take with that cramp.
So Mindil have got it down their attacking end. Can they trap Hellenic in? Time is the enemy for them now, regardless of how much stoppage we'll get. Cushioned header to no one in particular, so cleared by Carpathios. And that touches off a Mindil player, so it's going to be a Hellenic throw. And again, the delays, John, they're going to become interminable here. I do think the referee's going to have to get on top of it sooner or later.
Yeah, and Kwarkinen ran the risk there, being the one to go over and take the throw, of getting a second yellow, being the one caused for time wasting. But
that'd be a needless sending off. If no one else on the pitch is on a yellow, you don't want the one guy who's got a ticket being the one who's wasting time again.
Completely, and Dexter Newman's been wise to that. He's also got a long throw, Newman, as he puts that down to Ludvigsen in the corner.
So Ludvigsen cutting it back. Kwarkinen goes out for a throw. The only goal of the night feels like quite a while ago. The player who scored it, Manoli Gialouris, was subbed off. But it was his strike on the end of a flowing move in the 12th minute that is the difference between the two teams here on this opening night of the season. And a flick header from Ludvigsen. Very good player in the air. Definitely plays bigger than his height. He's got a good leap. He's just a good reader of an aerial ball. What was it like playing against him last season, John?
Juxtaposed. He's a gentleman, an absolute gentleman, but he's so strong. He's so good on the ball. I mean, for a guy that had 10 years off, you wouldn't know it the way that he plays. So it surprises me that he started on the bench tonight, but obviously he'll play himself into this side, no doubt.
So the pass from Hellenic comes to Little. Mindil are going to have to show some urgency here if they want to leave with something from this first game of the season. Bell made it awkward, but ultimately couldn't whip the ball off the feet of Taiki Kudo. Good pass from Osborne. And the goalkeeper didn't take possession. He just bats it away, McAdam. Timotheu. Oh, and that's a clumsy challenge. Free kick in shooting range. And Osborne, who's given plenty since coming off the bench, including drawing a very good save out of the keeper, has now won a free kick in promising territory here for Mindil. And it looks as though, John, he's stepping up to take it.
He certainly is. And McAdam's a very good shot stopper. I'm not sure he'll get this one in directly, but my concern would be the bouncing ball on the rebound late in the piece. Can the Hellenic players track their man and follow their man in if McAdam doesn't take this cleanly?
Big opportunity here for Mindil to try and grab an equaliser and a share of the points. 4 in the wall. Here's the free kick, and indeed it is parried and it does rebound. And so how did the area Mindil go? They backtrack. Osborne, the free kick taker, not fouled. We wait. He was fouled, and this time it may be just a bit of an acute angle in addition to the distance, making it a bit harder to fire directly on the target here. The referee says you've got to wait for my whistle. And Mifsud, the left footer, has walked up, so now this could be chaos, John, and a big pack of players challenging for the ball.
Most certainly, and he'd pick probably Zach Kirby should be the man, or Kelvin Mapandiri, to really put themselves about and try and get on the end of this.
So Mifsud's free kick. Players scattered all through the penalty area, but he's picked out a Hellenic one. And now they were trying to break, but not to be. Bell. And that back pass is going to ask Phil Wilkes to come almost up to the halfway line. And the momentum couldn't be paused, and he's bombed it out for a throw. And that's going to take us into the last minute of regulation as Hellenic try to waste time, and Mindil try to hurriedly bring on Esteban Mesulam, a 35-year-old Argentine. And he's played at semi-professional level in Argentina, John. So he's got a bit of pedigree, a veteran presence as well, and they'll be hoping maybe he can introduce himself with a goal that saves Mindil tonight.
Certainly, they've sacrificed Zach Kirby in doing it, so must be running 3 at the back here for this last 2 minutes as they try to find an equaliser.
Well, one thing that they'll be desperate to do is not let the ball get trapped down in either corner. That was Ludvigsen's first thought there. Another cramp. And I think Mindil this time will be happy that the free kick's coming back because they gave the ball away. And this is painful for Dexter Newman. We saw him moving very properly about 2 minutes ago in defence, and clearly the cramp has arrived, and it's arrived with a bit of a vengeance.
Yeah, and I don't think this is gamesmanship from Newman, but he could just roll the 2 feet off the pitch here and make it a grandstand finish.
Well, if I'm calculating stoppage time, it's a minimum of 5. You're probably looking at a 6 or a 7 here, I reckon, John. It would be intriguing to, if we can just catch Bruce Stalder announcing it over the loudspeaker, if they do announce it, of course. No fourth official, so could simply be up to Tim Lay's watch. Oh, we just heard it, 6 minutes.
Yep, and 6 minutes is going to go very quickly if they just keep wasting balls away like that. 6 minutes is a long time. They need to play the ball through midfield and get some balls on the deck here to give themselves a real chance. Just this hit and hope like that will see them squander away any chances in this last 5 minutes and 15 odd seconds.
I'm going to ask you a really tough question, John, or at least I assume it's a tough question. Who's your man in the match?
I actually think the biggest impact on the match was Nkube in a losing side, to be honest with you.
Look, I'm inclined to agree, but he was subbed off at the hour mark, and so much has happened since then. Same with our goal scorer. Not only Gio Louris has been subbed off, and then the game has exploded in all different directions. Bit of drama. But in terms of a highlight reel, I think he's by far and away the player of the night, absolutely.
None of the midfield for either side has really stood up and taken control of the game, and I think that's probably what both coaches will be working on during the week as they look at their next games. And there hasn't been a superstar up front. Yeah, for me, he's probably the most impactful player in a beaten side, which is probably harsh to some of the Hellenic players that have come out on top. But yeah, that's my pick.
Well, they'll be hoping they're not a beaten side just yet, but they need to create another signature chance and take it before the night is out. And they have had to work pretty hard because the clear-cut chances have been few and far between. That back pass might be a bit of an invitation and a gift, and as the goalkeeper McAdam goes through, the ruling is a goal kick, no illegal contact, but sadly for Hellenic, their goalkeeper has been left prone. Now as he bounces up.
I think could be some gamemanship. Yeah, I think this could be some gamesmanship, Tio, from this one. He's a very experienced player.
You see Mindil turning ball boys in order to give him the hurry up, but that's already managed to get us to 2.5 minutes of 6 stoppage, so it is going quickly for them. I feel like they need to create one more chance here to leave with something. It might take the full 4.5 minutes just to get all the ducks in a row. In the meantime, Hellenic are trying to make that a moot point, breaking through the right side and going wide across the face, and it wasn't close in the end. And that could have been go home with all 3 points for Hellenic. I think it might have been Newman who had the chance there, if I'm not mistaken, John, but not to be.
No, it was Harry Charles bursting forward. Yeah, that's the first time he's gone through like that in years. His eyes were lit up like dinner plates, but great timed run, brilliant ball from Simon Bell, and unfortunately just couldn't get the finish.
Hellenic have had a couple of little half chances like that of their own to put this game out of reach. Throw in an awkward one coming in from Trouse. Hard to control. So it's bombs away into the crowd. Hellenic just trying to buy some meterage, but Trouse smartly grabbed a ball off the nearest ball kid and held it straight back in, but Hellenic again hold firm. And this time it's their throw, it's multi-ball. It's just all these aggravating factors that if you're chasing the game, wind precious seconds off the clock. Ludvigsen, the right man to stand over the ball and hold it up. Now with a burst of acceleration, he's going down the left. You assume he's going for the corner though. Mapindera is awake to that. Ludvigsen turns it in. And now driving low attempt. Oh, Wilkes nearly left it behind, and that could have been a late gift. The shot from Kwarkanen proving a little bit hard to handle as the dew settles late, and the humidity's been there, of course, all day. Ball out for a throw. 90 seconds if Mindil are good enough to try and leave with something on this opening night of their title defence. High ball. Kudo, was he onside? He was. The flag stays down, but the defenders get back in position. Karpathios' header. And now some distance from goal. Numbers piling forward. That pass won't help. Kudo had nothing left in the legs. He might be the ageless wonder, John, but he was out of petrol tickets.
Yeah, it's well, not much else he could do there. He's run his heart out, as he always does, run his socks off.
So we're into the last minute of 6 stoppage then. Mindil will be left to rue. Maybe a header from Wallace. A shot on goal from Wallace, which was well saved by McAdam. And of course in the first half, Comfort and Kube through one-on-one against the keeper, but putting the shot into the crossbar. Do we get the late show? Hellenic have got the numbers. And that pass, well, it's out for a throw. If they just hit the brakes here, it will take us to the end of the 6 minutes. No, it's not their throw. And so taken quickly, Trouse. To no one in particular, though, doesn't help, and it's just bombs away to get it out over the line. And that, not even over the line, it's a great clearance. And that's going to take us to the end of stoppage time. So it's all on the generosity of the referee from here. Can Mindil pull it out of the fire? Not with a pass like that. And now the whistle could go at any moment. And indeed it does. So Hellenic, the defending premiers, defeat Mindil, the defending champions, in the opening game of the Football NT Men's Premier season. Just the one goal. It was Manoli Gialouris in the 12th minute. And even though Mindil huffed and puffed, they couldn't take their chances. Some very good chances when they presented. And Hellenic on the counter-attack had a couple of looks at doubling their lead, but ultimately couldn't convert. So they win 1-0, and John Dean, I'll give you some final thoughts and analysis to end tonight's broadcast.
Yeah, didn't reach the heights that we expected, and we certainly didn't see the goals that we thought we might see that we normally do from this fixture, but it was a hard-fought first game of the season, and certainly lived up to some of the hype there. There was some spice that we expected, and both sides will be very good for the hit-out, and I expect to see a fantastic match when they meet again in a couple of weeks' time in the second round of the FFA Cup, but isn't it a great day of football back to you?
Certainly is, and thank you for your company tonight. Don't forget the other men's senior games this weekend. 4 p.m. at Northern Territory time, or 4:30 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow afternoon, and then 8 p.m. in the evening, or 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time in the evening for the other 2 games. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, that's where you can find all the games this season. So like the page or subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that's where you'll get the action coming all through the season. That's it, though, from the Darwin Football Stadium tonight. Thank you for your company. My name's Teo Pellizzeri. On behalf of John Dean, we're looking forward to another season of football in the NT as the season opener ends. Middle Aces 0, Hellenic 1. Good night.